What's up, guys? All right, I want to take a look at Griffey and compare him to Luis Arraez. And the reason why I want to do this is because I want to illustrate the difference between basically the style of swing that I really advocate for, obviously, with Griffey. You can check out my book, Swing Like Griffey, at theswingmechanic.com. And then the other style, which is Luis Arraez's style, which is what I would call more of an arm-controlled swing. Now, the reason why I want to compare these two is because they're both good at what they do. But to me, I just feel like it's not an ideal approach to use the more arm-controlled swing of Luis Arraez. It's much better to go with a Griffey-style swing. And the reason being is because Griffey's style we see in the best hitters who have combined power and consistency. And with Luis Arraez, we can see high average, but we almost never see high power. So which swing do you want to choose? Do you want to choose one that just gives you high consistency? Or do you want one with high amounts of consistency and power? Yeah, the consistency maybe isn't as high as the highest consistency hitters, but it just pays to have a swing that's designed to hit for some power. I should mention that a common belief out there is that swing mechanics don't matter. This is like a really prevalent idea right now. I would say the Qigong movement is kind of in that direction of thinking that it's all overblown, it just doesn't matter. And what really, I get this a lot as a response on Instagram and YouTube, is it just doesn't matter. And things like pitch recognition, hand-eye coordination, people say all sorts of different things. Bat quickness, I don't know. Just, it doesn't really matter how you move through the swing is the general belief by this certain faction of people. And it's a large faction, and I get it. For one, I think that they're not that interested in swing mechanics. If you're interested in it, then I think you're more inclined to say it matters. But if you're not interested in it, you're more inclined to say it doesn't matter. I'm not invested in it, and if you're not invested in it, you want to say that it doesn't matter. So I just find this, there's good and bad everything. We may not, as a community, know what makes up the best possible way to swing, but just because we don't know it on a large scale right now doesn't mean that the answer is there is no best way to swing. It's just right now people generally don't know. It's a very confusing subject. People aren't clear of what is the best way to swing. And so, like I said, that's where you get this growth of this population that says it doesn't matter. To me, that's just like a cop-out. That's just it's got no basis in reality. Why would there not be a best way to swing? And they say, well, each hitter needs to find his own best way to swing. Well, I say we're all similar enough that we don't need to reinvent the wheel with every single hitter that we see. We all have two arms and two legs and a torso, and it's generally the same game that we're playing. We all have the same tools for the most part, and there is, my main point is there is a best way to swing. There's a best way to do pretty much everything. And then you say, well, what about music? There's not a best way to write a song or to make a song. There isn't, but there are best songs. There are songs that clearly make it to the top because they're better than others. And it's not really opinion. It's kind of fact because they actually make it to the top and they stay there, and they're clearly good songs. And there are clearly not so good songs. There's a spectrum. And if there's a spectrum, there's a best. And obviously, Luis Arraez is doing very well with his swing. This is no knock against the guy. I mean, he's a high level major league hitter. That's to be respected for sure. But again, I think that swing mechanics is a game within hitting. To me, it's one of the 5 skills of hitting. And there is a way to optimize it, just like any other skill. And I don't know about the other skills very well. There's pitch recognition, hand-eye coordination, strength and speed, the mental approach. And there are probably right ways to do those things too. But for sure, there's a right way to swing. And what we see, again, from the best pound-for-pound hitters, that means the guys who had the most power for their body weight, and I think that is the best way to find who had the best swings. And what we tend to see from those guys is more of Griffey's style, more of the hands kind of getting hand depth at the start, and then more of a rotation through contact. So let's just take a look at the swings. And this is obviously Luis Arraez. This is actually I got this on the internet. This is actually sped up from what it was on the internet 8 times. I would just really like to ask these people posting swings, just put them in regular motion. We can always slow it down on our own, but they're in painfully slow motion in a lot of these swings that are posted online. It's unbearable. So this is 8 times the speed, and look how slow it is. So anyways, let's look at his positioning here. Notice there's not a lot of hand depth at the start of the swing. This is what I was talking about with Aaron Judge's swing. Now, Aaron Judge can hit for power because he's basically 2 Luis Arraez's. I mean, not really, but he's got more than 100 pounds on Luis Arraez. Think about that. That's almost 2 guys. So Judge is able to do this, not get a lot of hand depth, and hit the ball out. But I still think Judge would do better with a different style swing. Now, people got crazy on me in Instagram about, critiquing the best, could be the best right-handed hitter of all time, and critiquing his mechanics. I mean, when you're talking about a 6'8" guy who's 283, yes, it would be ridiculous if he was like a 200-pound guy. And if he's putting up stats like that, he's probably got a different swing, though. And I probably wouldn't have anything to say about his swing. But being as big as he is, he's got a little bit of like Miguel Cabrera's type of look as you go through contact, Aaron Judge does. And Miguel Cabrera also was a big guy, 250, I believe. And, a lot of the balls that for normal-sized guys would just go to the, be a fly ball, go over the fence. And you can just look at his highlights and see that a lot of his hits that go for home runs would not be home runs for a regular-sized guy. It doesn't take an expert to see these things. Just look at the video. Look at the video from the TV perspective, the pitcher's angle. And you can see that they're slicing off a lot of these home runs, and they just barely go over the fence. For a guy who's 180, 190, 200, 210, that ball's not leaving the yard. So Judge has his hands the same way as Arraez, doesn't get a lot of hand depth. This is kind of typical of today's swing. I would like to see him flowing through a deeper position of the hands at this point. And then you can see that the hands punch out very hard here. And obviously, not a ton of rotation through the hit. But notice no flip. You oftentimes you see good positions from even these high average guys. Remember, we're talking about the major league level. You have to have a lot of good things going on in your swing. And he's got a lot of body controlled elements to his swing. But now let's look at Griffey's. I just think I would be so interested to seriously make a swing change with Arraez. And that would be messing with $1 million plus swing. So that would be exactly what I would want. But I would love to see it before after. If I worked with Arraez, I would be trying to get him to look more like Griffey. Let's look at Griffey. Look at the hand depth here. A lot more hand depth. If we could see the bat at this point, you'd see it very flat. And notice the front humerus compression. This is a completely different position than you see from Luis Arraez. Let's go back to Arraez at the start. Notice the difference here. And then as we go through contact, you're going to see even more of a difference. Look at how extended he is and how he's try to look beyond the positioning and think about what sort of movement feeling is going along with this position. And you can see it's just very much extension of the arms. Look at Griffey now. As from here, he rotates more into it. Look at the difference in positioning here. This is like the difference between a house cat and a jaguar. I mean, it is almost a different animal. Look at the positioning here and the positioning here. You know, again, the crowd who says that mechanics just don't matter, I can't tell you how different these two actions are. One is going to produce a lot of power and a lot of consistency. Now, Griffey compared to Arraez, I want to say his OPS was, I don't know, I think it's something like 6 or 7 or 8 points higher. Let's take a look. Let's see. Griffey. OPS 136. Let's do Arraez. OPS 123. So 136, 123. To me, that's almost a level and a half. I think of like 10 points of OPS, like you're a level above the hitter or a level below. So 10 points is kind of like I consider those levels. Now look at Arraez. He's just like Griffey, a left hitter and a righty thrower. But that doesn't guarantee Griffey-type mechanics. But I think he's got a lot of good things going on with his swing, Arraez does. There is a lot of what I call front arm dominance in his swing. Let's get back to, let's see. So, again, the difference in positioning here. But it's really, what is this communicating about the feeling of the swing? That's what really matters. You guys are concerned with what kind of feel do I need to have. That's all that really matters in the end. And again, the two moves are just so night and day different. Now, I want to bring in a third guy to compare here. Jose Altuve, pound for pound number 424 at the moment. Career still going on. And let's take a look at his positions. Altuve's very body controlled as opposed to Arraez. And look at how casted he is here. The hands are kind of casting the barrel out. And this is going to help him. When you cast the bat out more, you're almost forced into a lot of front humerus compression, hand depth. you're going to have to get hand depth. What else are you going to use? You can't cast the bat out and then push the hands. So you're kind of forced into a more body-controlled swing, and it's worked very well for a lot of hitters. Mel Ott, Albert Bell, Stan Musial had it a little bit. Obviously, Acuna does it, and Altuve does it to a little extent too. The reason why I want to bring up Altuve is he's 10 pounds less than Arraez. He's got a better OPS plus. Let's look at his OPS plus numbers. So Altuve is OPS plus 151 last year. Let's see what it is. So Arraez is 123. Altuve is 129. So that's a pretty big difference. That's about a half a level higher, better of a hitter. But with Arraez, we're talking about the best slap hitter there is. Altuve weighs 10 pounds less. So he's got more power. He weighs 10 pounds less. You know, Arraez is the best slap hitter there is. And he's still not to the value of this smaller guy who's hitting for more power. My point is, it just pays to go for power. It pays to have a swing that produces both power and consistency. And that is a more body-controlled swing, a more Griffey-like swing. As we go through, again, the front humerus compression is evident, leaving the hands behind. This is a key position right here, a key feel. And then very connected at contact. That front arm particularly nice and connected. So, you know, as you guys know out there, I think that in swing instruction, there's so much noise right now. And I think that all the commotion is for the purpose of trying to arrive at the very best way to swing a bat. People don't know what it is. And the commotion is the start of us as a community figuring that out. And what happens first is everyone throws out their ideas. And there are a lot of people out there who, amongst the commotion, seem to be interested in starting a business.
Obviously, I made a little bit of money by me just going in there and talking to people in the Facebook groups. I worked out a deal with him to where he gets a commission for every sale that he brings in. Because I know my margin. You know, it cost me $15 to make a bat. I'm selling it for $100. So
he's making some money.
He's making a killing.
Is he?
So I probably shouldn't say how much he makes, but
you can tell me off camera.
Yeah.
It's the best time to start a business within an industry when there's a lot of confusion, because you can just rehash old ideas and develop a product around them. The problem is a lot of these guys, again, they've put their business first, and they've put kind of the ideas that drive the business second. The problem with doing that is now the ideas that they have built their business upon, they're old, outdated ideas. You know, I see this with the Camwood bats. It seems like that guy wasn't interested in swing mechanics. I could be wrong. Nothing against this guy. This is just my personal opinion. It seems like he's just not... He's assumed that everything that we have been teaching in baseball swing instruction is right on. That's a big assumption to me. That is not one I'd want to gamble on. I think we've gone completely backwards in swing instruction. You know, and there's the launch angle stuff, and there have been products developed off that, the upside down tees, and, you know, there's farm boards that are developed based on the idea that it's all about deceleration. And if you focus on the deceleration, emphasize it, exaggerate it, then you're landing you're touching on the key to the swing. I'm just not seeing it. And I feel like there's so many guys out there who have developed businesses based on really faulty assumptions. And I don't think they're going to last very long, because I think that it's going to matter more and more how exact your idea of the swing is. We have to move more towards this more body-controlled movement in the swing. Swing mechanics do matter. That might be the first point I want to make. They do matter. Let's all get on the same page about that. There is a best way to swing. Yes, Tony Gwynn did very well with a more of a Luis Arraez kind of swing, and Luis Arraez is doing great with it. Aaron Judge is doing great with kind of a similar style. But there is still best. And I don't think any of those guys hit on the best way to swing. If you want to look at who has the best way to swing, that's the reason why I developed the pound-for-pound equation. It's because I want to see who were the lightest hitters, who hit for the most consistent power. And people say that I haven't factored in consistency with the pound-for-pound equation because it's based on at-bats per home run. But that is consistency. You're consistently hitting the ball hard. If you're hitting home runs at a once every 10 to 20 at-bats, you have consistency. That is consistency in power, and that's what I want. That's the most reliable. That's the easiest way to go about it. There's no one who played the game with more ease than a guy like Babe Ruth or Ted Williams or Ken Griffey Jr. These guys, we've always said they've had some amazing superpower, almost. That's the way we've thought of them. And we even said about Griffey in swing instruction, the word was, yeah, but he's a special talent. You can't get away with what he does. A special talent. The implication, of course, is that you are not, which there may be some truth, to that. But more than anything, he just employed these extremely effective and efficient swing mechanics. I'm not saying that if you employ these mechanics, you will therefore be as good as Griffey. There are other important skills of hitting, as I said before. Hitting is not a swing contest, but it's in large part a swing contest. And who cares anyways? Who cares about comparing how good you're going to get? All you guys want to do is optimize your swing and optimize this skill and optimize that skill and see how fun baseball can get. It's a hard way to go about it with Luis Arraez' swing. I think it's not the ideal way to go about it. When I talk about Aaron Judge, again, I feel like he could do better with a better swing. So my answer is, as you guys know, the front arm progression. That is really, again, so many guys want to create a product and sell you on this and sell you on that. I actually want to convince you guys that there is nothing you need to buy. You guys have everything that you need if you have a ball and a bat. Let's be real. Let's be real. We know the best hitters had very crude equipment. Why did they have very crude equipment? Because crude equipment is actually more helpful. When you start getting into buying this and that, when you start to focus so much on what do you need to buy, then your focus is off of your own game. And it's in the hands of other people making products. Again, I think there are a lot of business people out there, guys who are more interested in making money. Of course, I have to make money. Everyone has to do it. But I would never put making money ahead of my understanding my theory, my approach to the swing. The pound-for-pound equation was developed to find the very best swings. And all I can say is I recommend, having looked at all these hitters with the very best swings, the front arm progression is the quickest way to achieve a swing that they have. The front arm progression is where you swing with just your front arm and then slowly add your back arm. When you're swinging with just your front arm, this will put you into more of, it'll move you more towards what we see in the best pound-for-pound hitters. You don't need a product to do it. You can just use your own bat. I do recommend, for 90% of the time, using a smaller bat if you have one. I do sell one if you don't have one. And I designed it to be exactly what players need to do this front arm progression. But again, it's not a tool that's absolutely necessary. You can get started today. 100% you can get started today. Just use your game bat. Do the front arm progression with that. And again, you'll move more towards a very body-controlled swing. I think that at some point we're going to come to the realization that it's actually way more simple than what we've made it out to be. And it actually does come down to just one drill. Just one drill is all you really need. And that's the front arm progression. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.